This episode of West Texas Then and Now will take you on quite a ride through the Old West, with a few twists and turns, a surprise or two, and the trail will end up right here in West Texas. Check your six-shooters and saddle up, 'cause we're looking for outlaws. Ben Kilpatrick was born in Coleman County in 1874, and while he did some cowboying, his chosen profession was being an outlaw in the fading days of the Old West. Old Ben was known as the Tall Texan because, well, all the cool outlaws had a nickname. Our man Ben was so cool of an outlaw that he was a member of one of the Wild West's most famous outlaw gangs, the Wild Bunch, formed by Elsie Lay and Butch Cassidy. In 1900, this photograph, which is called the Fort Worth Five, was significant in that the Pinkerton Detective Agency used it for their wanted posters. The photograph shows, left to right, the Sundance Kid, our man Ben Kilpatrick, and Butch Cassidy on the front row, while Kid Curry is standing on the back row right. Will Carver, also known as News Carver, is the other person standing. On July 3, 1901, Kid Curry and a group of men robbed a Great Northern train near Wagner, Montana, stealing more than $60,000 in cash, equal to about $1.8 million in today's money. The gang split up, but a posse led by Sheriff Elijah Bryant caught up with News Carver and killed him. Ben Kilpatrick was later captured in St. Louis, Missouri, and sent to prison, where he served about 10 years of his 15-year prison sentence. He met up with a fella by the name of Olie Ho Beck, which little is known. Olie got out of prison before Ben, but as soon as Ben was released, the two men got together and returned to a life of crime by executing a series of spectacular bank and train robberies within a short time. The robberies did not yield much gain, though, which necessitated further robberies. One such train robbery is the focus of the rest of this story. For this caper, Ben and Olie enlisted an 11-year-old boy who was so eager to be a big-time outlaw that he had already chosen his outlaw nickname, the Cimarron Kid. The Cimarron Kid was stationed with fresh horses about 10 miles east of Sanderson, West Texas, near the border. The three had shod the horses backwards so the horseshoes were pointing the wrong way, supposedly to fool a posse into tracking them in the opposite direction. At about 12:05 a.m. March 13, 1912, Kilpatrick and Ho Beck boarded Southern Pacific's train number 9 in Dryden and rode it west toward Sanderson. Once they were out of town, the two robbers put on masks and made their way to the front of the train to take the engineer, two of his crewmen, and the express messenger hostage. The robbers then ordered the engineer to stop the train at the first iron bridge west of a place called Baxter's Curve, which was located roughly midway between Dryden and Sanderson, and that's where they had left the Cimarron Kid with their horses. While Kilpatrick was holding the engineer at gunpoint, Ho Beck went to the express car with the express messenger named David Truesdale and the two crewmen to disconnect the following cars and commence the actual robbery. Along the way, Truesdale managed to arm himself with an ice mallet that was used for a shipment of frozen oysters. He concealed it, waiting for his chance. A few minutes later, as Ho Beck was looking down to pick up a package, Truesdale struck him in the head with a mallet and killed him. Truesdale then armed himself with Ho Beck's rifle and gave pistols to the two crewmen. They then went to the back of the car to wait for Ben Kilpatrick to show himself. When Ben appeared in the window of the express car, he called out a few times. But then, he was shot in the head by Truesdale. Ben never saw him. With the robbery thwarted, the engineer restarted the engine, reconnected the other half of the train, and went on to Sanderson, where the sheriff of Terrell County was informed. The Terrell County Sheriff at the time, David Anderson, was notable for having been a member of Billy the Kid's gang. But that's a story for another time. The sheriff went to Baxter's Curve and captured the Cimarron Kid. The bodies of Kilpatrick and Ho Beck were immediately removed from the train and propped up in front of the depot for this now famous photograph. After the photos were taken, the bodies were wrapped in sheets and placed together in a large wooden coffin. Kilpatrick and Ho Beck were originally buried in an unmarked grave at the Cedar Oak Cemetery, but their grave has since been discovered and is now a popular tourist attraction. David Truesdale was regarded as a hero, and as a reward he was presented with $1,000 and an engraved gold watch from Wells Fargo and Company. He also received another $1,000 from the federal government, $500 from the Southern Pacific Railroad, and a gold watch fob inlaid with a diamond inside the Star of Texas from grateful passengers. We hope you've enjoyed this episode of West Texas Then and Now. If you did, we would appreciate you hitting the like button and perhaps subscribing to our channel. Join us next time for another story about West Texas Then and Now.